Welcome to Radio OPAC. Radio OPAC is a division of Ohio Arts Connection. OPAC connects people to the arts inside and outside of prison. My name is Catherine Roma, and I will be your host today. We welcome all of you, including our friends in correctional institutions in Ohio and other states, via our DVDs of the shows. And the shows are archived on YouTube. Our guests today are Jonathan Platt and Mary Evans. Please join me in welcoming them to Radio OPAC. Before we get going, let me remind our audience there will be a live talkback following our 15-minute interview. The Zoom link will be posted in the comments section. Hello to Jonathan and to Mary. And just before we began, we were trying to figure out how we all met. And actually, it was in 2015. All of us were in DCI in different capacities and not knowing that we were. Actually, I met Jonathan at the front entry of DCI. And we've traced it back to 2015. But anyway, Jonathan is the imaginative creator of Story Chain, a program that assists men and women inside to choose, practice, read, and record stories for their children on the outside. Storytelling is an art and perfected in the most wonderful way manifested in this powerful program. And Mary Evans is the sound engineer who makes the magic happen. So in starting our conversation, let's start with talking about kind of the process. How do you get from the person inside, the man or the woman, reading the book, picking the book, all the way to delivering the MP3 and the book to the child on the outside? So just kind of at first, the process question.
Right. That's an excellent question. It is extremely complicated. You'd think that the idea is very simple, right? The idea is amazingly simple. The idea comes from another program. I stole this program from a program in New York City called Daddy and Me. They were doing it with the collaboration between the library and the prison system in New York City. And I thought it was really cool what they were doing. And what they were doing that I noticed that was very unique was they were spending time with the inmate reading the story. So it wasn't the first time the inmate was reading Cat in a Hat. It was the second or third time that he was reading the Cat in a Hat, and then he's recorded. And I thought, well, wouldn't that be a great theater design? If we could just work with these guys and these ladies for weeks at a time on their voice elocution, on their voice delivery, just like what you do, Kathy, with singing. This is singing. It's a way to narrate, a way to tell the story, the magicality of the voice. I made that word up. I think it's very, very important to take the stress out of the voice, and create this story that a child can really, really enjoy. And so it's a dream for a literacy instructor like myself. It's a dream come true. I've taught English for years and years and years, so this is the best platform for me. I mean, I'm just, Kathy and I were talking earlier, I'm dying to get back into the jails because it's where my teaching is the best. It's where my teaching is the most effective. It's so, the feedback I get from these people, it helps me in so many ways, but I digress.
Yeah, so bring us back to, is there a library that they choose the books from? And then do you have outside people? Do you do all the work? Do you do the elocution lessons? Do you do the theater? Are you the person that does all that, or do you have resource people that come in?
Well, I bring in a lot of community folks. I bring in near the end as I do the process. Yes, I do the teaching, the facilitation, challenging them to do the elocution on their voice. I look for the shy people. I embarrass the heck out of them, and then we bring in politicians. We bring in police chiefs. We bring in professors. We bring in business leaders. We bring in important people to listen to their stories and for them to give feedback.
Oh, great.
And so it's like this community assembly, all coming in on one day or 2 days. I'm starting to extend that more because the results of that have been magnificent, and a lot of people want to do it.
Well,
That's
so then the person inside records, and then are you the person that then takes the MP3 player to with the story to the families or the caretakers and the child?
Yes, we meet at the library. We try to meet at the
At the local
local
library.
library, the closest library to where the caregiver lives.
Okay.
So we don't work with the inmate unless we know where the child is.
Okay, great.
If you can tell us where the child is and who the caregiver is, I don't care if you don't talk to them anymore, just let us know how to locate them. And if we can locate them, we can locate the library, and we can meet in a meeting room at the library. And the library has been really successful in that way because
Awesome.
it's giving a gift to the child, and it's the first time that we meet the child. It's the first time that the child really knows what's going on.
Well, I was going to ask, can you share like a personal story from a man or a woman who's learning and feels like, oh my gosh, I have no confidence. I am intimidated. I'm scared. I can't follow through with this. What do you do in that instance? How do you calm someone's nerves, or do you have a personal story of someone?
Well, you just popped in my head because I know we were talking about this earlier, and I'm coming up with a personal story. There's countless personal stories, but there's this one story of a young lady who was at where was she? Oh, she's from Montgomery. She's from Dayton, but she was incarcerated in Greene. She is autistic, and she told me the first time I met her, as if it was a warning, like she can't do this reading thing. And then she confessed that her 3-year-old is autistic as well. And I didn't prod her, but I prod other inmates to prod her to say, look, we got to get a book in her hands. We got to get her reading to this kid. And we found this book, I Ain't Gonna Paint No More. I don't know if you know this book, but the illustrator is from Springfield. And this book, it's a really, really simple, sing-songy, wonderful book. And this mother could not get it out of her hands. She memorized it. She would sing it. And I got to take it to the child. And this child was severely autistic. He took my cell phone and threw it across the library. But he listened to "I Ain't Gonna Paint No More," and it was a magical moment.
Wow.
And I
Fantastic.
really, that was 2 years ago, and I've heard she had a drug addiction, and I've heard that she has gotten a job,
Great.
and the husband, the man at home who also is struggling with drug addiction and some autism, is doing just fine. And he was the caregiver.
Wow.
They were a very young couple.
Well,
And
let me.
that's rare to see the caregiver being the father at home. That was
Mm-hmm.
rare, but that was kind of a very interesting window.
Well,
And there's never one story, right? It's
right.
all so different.
Well, in case everyone is just joining us, we are Radio OPAC, and our guests today are Jonathan Platt and Mary Evans discussing their work with Story Chain, in the jails in our area. We invite you to join us after this little discussion here, this interview, for a live talk back with the Zoom link in the comments section. So, Mary, um, have you been able to observe the impact on the children, or what have you been doing, and how have you been hooking into this project?
Well, it's kind of crazy. So when I was in DCI, I participated in PowerNet and was actually participating with Story Chain during my incarceration. So that's kind of crazy that I participated in it. And so it's just kind of like, what's that big full circle? Now I'm working with the organization. As far as impacts go, just starting and with all the COVID, stipulations and stuff, I haven't really been able to be there, and I had some family stuff for the last delivery, but I can speak from experience. I was incarcerated with two women who participated in Story Chain. Both are now deceased, but I know the impact that MP3 player had on one woman's child specifically, to the point where when her first MP3 player had broken,
Right.
she needed a new one, and so Jonathan replaced it to give her another one because that was all she had of her mother's voice, and her mother, is no longer with us. So I know that as far as like impact, that right there is impactful in itself. I actually got my first chance to work with a family and to work with Jonathan at WISO. This family came in with their whole army. Jonathan and his daughter, she's amazing. She was the babysitter for the night while we were in the studio, and just watching both parents, and this mother was pregnant with another child, but they were reading for Ryder, who was a younger child. I think he might have been like 3 or 4. But just watching them get into it, and I'm going to read this book, and no, we're going to read this one together, and you never really see parents, especially nowadays with technology taking over, really wanting to read or being that excited about what the power of reading is going to do for their child. So those are some of the impactful things that I can say that I've seen with my own eyes, and it's really admirable what Jonathan does. Not a lot of people really care about reunification when it comes to incarcerated individuals, or education when it comes to incarcerated individuals, and reading is the power to everything. And
Absolutely.
I just really appreciate him giving me the chance to even be a part of it.
It's so
As far
great
as
that
what
the full circle
I
is,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah,
no,
the full circle.
it's the full circle is so incredible. It's so
It
beautiful.
is.
Um, so thank you, Mary. Jonathan, um, how has this work impacted you? I mean, what can you share, what has happened to you in the inside? How this has affected you?
I, it's a is That's a great question. It's affected me in so many ways. I mean, this is my spare bedroom, and it's all Story Chain. My daughter is actually doing a Story Chain internship. She's 11, but she's writing down all of the past histories of everybody that has ever been in Story Chain, and we're writing down all the children's names so we can create a database,
Oh,
so
great.
we can someday create Children of Incarcerated of Ohio, and create some kind of Zoom meetings or some kind of coalition. I know Florida does it. I think Children of the Incarcerated are the most disenfranchised group in the world, and there's so many of them. There's 10 million kids
Right.
who has a parent in some degree incarcerated or involved in incarceration, and it usually isn't talked about. I
Right.
think it needs to be celebrated. I think it needs to be acknowledged. I think it needs to be known. I have gotten our story chain has received money for children of the incarcerated. We've also received money to connect parents with their children, but we've never received money for the inmate. I think that's very, very important. We have never received a dime to educate, to stimulate, to prop up, to help somebody who's incarcerated. And that's why I'm so fascinated with what you do, Kathy, because you go straight to the bone. You work directly with the inmates, and so do we. But we have, we have that fallback of the children.
Right.
But it's all about the betterment of the inmate. And I think now that we're working with developmental disabilities, Mary and I are getting a paycheck for this. We're doing the same thing, except people are not incarcerated. So we're showing that this really, 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 really works.
Yeah, the art of storytelling, of reading and helping, but it's the stories that affect us and change us and transform us. And then you have the mother wanting to reach, or the father wanting to reach out to the child in this way. And voice, if we think about the element of voice, the texture, the beauty, the sound that is unique to all of us. Yeah, so I just think...
Real quick, Kathy, and I just want to say one quick thing. We will never use video. And I know there's a lot of programs that like video, that think video camera is great. Daddy and Me uses video. I am not into video at all. Look at me. My chin's too big, and I'm distorted, and it's awful. And I'm in your face, and I'm too red. It's just ugh. But the voice, my voice is magical.
I totally agree.
Is beautiful, and we can practice that over and over and over. We've really developed the magicality of the voice, and that's what I believe in.
I love that word,
magicality. Magicality. All right.
I wanted to say something really quick too. Like when it comes to like elocution and the parent picking the story, I think Jonathan and I, we've had this conversation. It leaves room for it not to be so quiet, but positive conversation once the incarcerated individual makes it home, because then the child, in their mind, they know, hey, my parents thought about me. They read these books. Why did you choose this book? That's a conversation starter. Well, this book, the character reminded me of you when I left you, or this is what I was going, you know what I mean? So there's like several connections that can happen with these books, with these stories, that can just, do nothing but strengthen the reunification process.
So valuable, so important. Well, before we get to our moment of reflection, I want to say that next week's guest will be David Brown. And David Brown is the founder and director of the Harmony Project in Columbus, but he also conducts the Tapestry Women's Choir at the Ohio Reformatory for Women. So that's the guest next week. But then on each week on Radio OPAC, we have a moment of reflection, because we know how these art revelations raise our spirits and carry us through the day. So today, Jonathan and Mary have picked out a clip for us to see with their work on story chains. So tell us a little bit about this.
So this piece is called the 13 Story Treehouse, and it's recorded and produced by Tom Amrine. Tom Amrine is a fellow Antioch alum. Him and I just graduated June 20th together. And there's the book. Jonathan's holding up the book. And what's so amazing about this book is there's very little text in it. And so he pretty much created the dialogue by looking at the pictures. I'm thinking that's how it kind of went down, because that book was very complex. It was really cool. I met Tom when I first got to Antioch College and started at WISO, and he taught me everything about sound wave and editing, and now the tables have turned. And he works for us, and I don't ever say that I'm someone's boss. I say him and I work together, but I just thought that was pretty cool that he's taught me everything, but he's more into the technical and building the radio station, whereas I love the art of sound, the seen and unseen, and just how you can manipulate it and make it better, and just all these different things. So that's who produced and created this piece.
Okay.
The 13-Story Treehouse by Andy Griffiths, illustrated by Terry Denton, and read by Tom Amrine. Chapter 1. The 13-Story Treehouse. Hi, my name's Andy. Andy's holding a book. This is my friend Terry. Terry's holding a pencil. We live in a tree. Andy and Terry Treehouse. Well, when I say tree, I mean treehouse. And when I say treehouse, I don't mean any old treehouse. I mean a 13-story treehouse. So what are you waiting for? Come on up. Inside, there's a ladder and a checkered floor. There's an observation deck, a giant catapult, a games room, a lemonade fountain, Andy's bedroom, a kitchen, a main deck, a see-through swimming pool, a hatch to a secret underground laboratory, a man-eating shark tank, a bowling alley, of course, a bathroom. There's a theater and a library. It's got a bowling alley? Terry accidentally mistakes Andy's head for a bowling ball. Terry, that's my head. Oops, sorry. A see-through swimming pool? Terry's standing on Andy's head. Who said that? A tank full of man-eating sharks. Terry, look out behind you! Shh! Don't interrupt me, I'm trying to feed the sharks. Vines you can swing on? I don't think that's a vine, Andy. That's a snake. A games room? I'm bored. Are you kidding? Yes. A secret underground laboratory. I just worked out how to make giant bananas. Why? Because giant bananas are cool. A lemonade fountain. A vegetable vaporizer. No! A Brussels sprout! Vaporize, vaporize. Yay! And a marshmallow machine that follows you around and automatically shoots marshmallows into your mouth whenever you're hungry. Zzz, zzz. How do you shut this thing off? But I'm not full yet.
I wish you could show pictures of how he did that. I mean, I don't know how he came up with that story by looking at that. It's really cool.
Well,
It's a wonderful story. It's really, I think it's New Zealand, but it's really it's a comic book, really,
Yeah.
and I think it's made
Can
for
you show any of the
the
pages?
hesitant. Huh?
Can you show what the page looked like that he read? Do you remember? Yeah, wait till you see this, Dr. Roma. I mean, he's so talented. I just think it was amazing. So that's all he had. Like, he had some stuff, but not a
wow.
lot.
How fantastic.
Right. So it's just it's getting very imaginative with the voice and the sound
Absolutely.
effects to include. But Mary has done some things, and she doesn't do the sound effects as much, and I appreciate that because her instinct is to let just the voice be in control.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I really like, and that's something that we learn in the jail. We let them know that we have all these sound effects, but if you want to do your own sound effects, we make all sorts of noises in jail.
Yeah.
Feel free to do that. So this is just an example of how polished we can be, but we can also be very, very rugged. We can be very non-academic.
Well,
sure.
I have to cut us off here because we want to meet with you in person. So thank you to Jonathan and to Mary of Story Chain. Please join us immediately on the Zoom call, and you can find that link in the comments section. And thank you so very much again for joining Radio OPAC.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. It's very, very important for us. Thank you.
Very important.
Thank you.
Thank you, OPAC.